Hey, Sean. It is March 29th, 2020 right now, and I'm recording this video and I'm going to schedule it to upload on March 29th of 2021. So a year will have passed since recording this, and given the uncertainty right now, if you aren't aware, right now we are in the throes of, well, I hope it's the throes and it doesn't get worse than this, but we're in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. Currently there is no huge action being taken by the United States at any federal level. There's some travel restrictions by the CDC or travel advisories. St. Louis is 1 week into a 30-day stay-at-home order, which in all likelihood will be extended to probably 60 days. But my job completely evaporated a couple weeks ago. I was glad that I got one big job in right before it happened, but essentially my livelihood, filming and all that sort of stuff is gone for the foreseeable future because we're not allowed to be in groups, and most of filming is either of other people or with other people, and so it's tough right now to imagine what it's going to look like on the other side of this, or when we're going to get to the other side of this. But I wanted to talk about how I feel because, man, I'm going to hate the sound of this video later. I can feel how windy it is in my own ears. Why didn't I just record this inside? It would have been so much better inside. I feel like it's going to be important for us to remember how we feel right now in a year and 5 years and 10 years from now, because hopefully we will be able to move on, and coronavirus and how we dealt with it and the months of struggle will be a memory that we're not reliving every year as we're trying to, combat it as a seasonal virus. But it's important for us to understand how we feel right now and reminisce on that later so that we can appreciate the things that we're learning. Because I keep hearing people say, like, oh, it's going to be so different. Like, I have such a renewed perspective. And I do. I do as well. I share the same things. If there's stuff that I took for granted, which I am currently embracing very much, to be able to have the privilege to be able to self-isolate in a home, to have a few months of revenue that can pay for that mortgage without getting really scared, to have a family that has financial support if we're to come to that. Knowing those things is such a weight off my shoulder, and I know that there's a lot of people who don't have that and who don't feel that, and I know there's some people on the far side of that who have so much that this is just a cool excuse to not go to work for a couple months or something like that. And there's such a wide spectrum of experiences happening right now because of this, and I'm scared. I'm scared for my own health and for the health of Jesse and Luca. Luca is 8.5 months old right now, and while young children aren't as susceptible to the coronavirus, to COVID-19 itself, it's scary. It's scary, and like, he can't communicate, and so if he's fussy, you don't know what it is, and you don't know how to fix it, and you can't tell him to cover his mouth when he coughs. You can't tell him to try to breathe more slowly. It's scary to have no control with a kid this age, and to wonder what would happen if the virus got him, and what it would do to my family and my parents and my connections and the people that I want to see and work with. And so when I go out to the grocery store, I wear glasses just so that I remember not to touch my eyes. I only usually wear glasses when I'm editing. But I make such an effort not to touch anything, and then as soon as I come back in, I wash my hands, and then I go back and disinfect the doorknobs and anything that I touched on my way out. And it's just this invisible thing out there that is just devastating communities and the medical care system, and it's terrifying. And I have friends who are nurses and stuff like that, and I know people who still have to go to work in this, and my heart breaks for them. But there's so much that I've taken for granted that I feel like has come into focus as far as what's important. I'm so glad that I'm able to shell up in this house with Jesse and Luca, and know that we can shut the doors, and if we sterilize our packages and mostly prepare our own food, we're probably safe and we're not going to contract it or spread it. But it's lonely. It's really lonely. We're using this house party app to video chat with our friends, and I think daily I chat with Laura Vetter and Shannon Marklin, and pretty frequently with Scooter and Allison, a bunch of the people from Parched. And there's also been people in this that I haven't spoken to in years, that because of these apps, like I got Marco Polo last week and talked to Sheen Man, who I hadn't talked to in probably like 5 or 6 years, maybe, other than a text or two, maybe 10 years. And it's nice to reconnect under these auspices of, we're all trying to communicate and connect digitally, and so we connect with those around us, and suggestions of whose contact info you have and who you can talk to. And I've used those to strike up a couple of conversations with some long lost friends, and that's been nice. I talked to Wes Groff earlier this week, and Jesse put it well, like, we're talking to people that we wouldn't have talked to if this wasn't happening. And we're having conversations that we wouldn't have if this was happening. And not even conversations about this, but we're just talking more frequently. And, there's little smiles and jokes and things that are part of our day that normally I wouldn't wake up and, at 9 o'clock in the morning, hop on a video chat and see who's out there just to say hello before people start work. But it's been happy and fun. And it makes me wonder, why don't we do this more often? Why isn't this a part of our daily life when we are just going? And I think that a lot of us put blinders on and we're trying to grind, and especially if you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, business owner, you have this idea of like, well, I'm going to grind, I'm going to work. And we were just about to film a series of online courses. We were about to start production on Our Little World. It's March 29th. We were going to film the first episode on April 11th at Companion Bread, and that all got canceled. And having all that just ripped out of my hands, like, I realized some of it's a distraction, and I had gotten away from some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I enjoy doing and that I enjoy, spending my time on. And it's been the one really nice thing about all this is it's been nice to sit back and say, okay, now is the time to reflect on what is really important, because we don't have anything else. And there's people who I'm craving to see, and I haven't seen my father and my mother in quite some time. It's been several weeks, and we video chat almost every day, and Adam and Neely and Eloise and Lewis and Jake and Sophia, and it's just tough. It's tough to miss these people, but the value there, the silver lining is, I think when this is all over, hopefully we remember how important these people are to us, and we take the time to have a phone call, and even if we don't get to hang out, be able to video chat and say hello. This is awful. There's a chance I'm going to have to re-record this whole thing, but we'll see if I post this anyway. We won't know for a year, right? So I think it's important a year later to remember that right now there is so much uncertainty that we're clinging to what is close to us, where we're clinging to our family, to our friends, these connections and these smiles. And when everything else is taken away, when the job, the routine, the going and grabbing coffee, the playing recreational sports, when all that is removed, we're craving these connections with people, and we're looking for ways that we can get it. And I hope that when this is over, we cherish those connections. And I think there's little things about how we treat strangers, and that, like, how people talk to each other or interact, in the wake of a tragedy. And there's this sort of community that emerges out of that. And I hope that we don't so quickly get, back into our old routines where we forget to just be nice to people and understand that everybody's struggling. And if somebody's driving, they may be going to the hospital to see somebody for the last time. And the last thing we want to do is cut anybody off if that's the case. And so give people a little bit of room. Give a little extra patience, because you don't know who's a nurse that just had one of the longest days of their life and they can't go home and hug their partner because they may have the coronavirus now. You don't know what people are struggling with. And so the more room you can give people, I think the better we can all be. And if that's what we take away from this, I think the world will be a better place a year from when I'm recording this. So now the wind stopped as I'm done, but that's what I'm thinking right now. And I hope that when I watch this in a year, it means something to me, because it was important enough to turn on the camera and talk about it now. Thanks for watching. See you later.